The world has become a very, very small place for farmers. Every farmer is every day in competition with the best other farmers in the world. And goods and money flows across the globe. Hence, it's so important that the rules by which we trade remains fair to everybody. Competitiveness is the name of the game. And just like you cannot make water run uphill, food and fiber will never run from a less competitive environment to a more competitive environment. It will always be the other way around. Now, competitiveness can be broken down for a farmer, from a farmer's perspective, in many categories. It's all about what the consumer prefers. The most important person in the life of a farmer is the head of that family, or the mother mostly of a family, who decides what the family will have for dinner tonight. And the competition is about having that on the shelf. And there are these three markets for which we compete. For a large part of the global market, competitiveness means price. What can I afford to feed my family? In our neck of the woods in Africa, this is unfortunately still the largest part of the market. What is affordable? It's only when household food security is covered that you move into the second market, where the question is, what's the most nutritious mix on my plate? What is healthy for my family? And once you've covered that, you move into the top end of the market, where the consumer asks, where did this food come from? How was this pig treated before it was slaughtered? What was its accommodation like? But that's a small part and a very lucrative part of the market. Now, when trade is on the table as a debate, we need to cover these markets. And what disrupts trade most is deliberate action. It's when you rock the trade flow with embargoes, with sanctions, whatever you call it. What's happening between Europe and Russia? What's happening between the USA and China? What happens between Europe and Zimbabwe? Because farmers are by far the most vulnerable to it. We cannot just store our stuff. What we produce has a limited shelf life. Farmers get hurt the most and the first. And whenever I visit Moscow, the first thing the newspapers would ask is, do the European farmers hurt as much as we do in this embargo? And when I land in Brussels or here in Berlin, they want to know, do the Russian farmers also feel the pain? And they are both our members. Usually I only answer, I pray for the day when the politicians will stop using our produce to knock each other on the head when they pick up a scrap about something that's got nothing to do with farmers. Because this kind of action also has a limited shelf life. Very soon, the buyers, the market, find a different source. As the South African farmers, we have hugely benefited from this kind of trade conflict, because all of a sudden we have brand new markets in China and in Russia. And it will take a lot of effort. Even if that kind of embargo would be finished today, the European farmers will not simply find new space on the shelves tomorrow. So it does not, over the long term, make sense to limit trade. Because every country has an obligation also to protect its own producers. A lot that goes through as trade today actually amounts to, and excuse me, I've not been invited because I'm a diplomat, I've been invited because I speak for farmers. A lot of it amounts to dumping. We see too many surpluses from elsewhere in the world reaching our shores in Africa, killing our own producers, because you cannot wait for this wave of influx to be over before you can start to produce again. We need to, in every country, has the obligation to ensure that there is a proper, sustainable, and profitable production environment for its own farmers. But very little of what you find in shelves and shops is in the format which has left our hands on the farmers. There's a long value chain in between. Food gets processed and then distributed. And very often you might not even recognize what left the farm gate. And it is in this process where a large part of the world does not have access. How would you get, for example, in the current debate, which really annoys us as farmers, to replace animal-based proteins with plant-based proteins? How, if we cannot even get food in its most natural form to poor families in Africa, do we hope to get processed food into those families? Hence, I hear what the Swiss say about their vision for trade. A large part of Africa can simply not afford to feed families with that. I heard today what one of the largest corporations say about moving towards only organic foods. How will you open those shops in deep rural Africa? I want to plead that the debate starts with the poorest in mind, the poorest part of the market, and then work its way up to the most affluent part.